Some of us have the role of manager, have the role of leader, and others are acting as natural leaders. The question is, if you felt full ownership of yourself, you felt full agency to act, to do the right thing, to follow your gut feeling, imagine what kind of leader you could be. And today we're going to delve into that targeted advancement. It's about intentionally pursuing leadership growth by first starting with your own self-awareness. So it's not about waiting for someone else to grant you the right to lead. It's about taking control of your own journey. And what I find is, as storytellers, we can tell the story of our project, perhaps. We can tell the story of the mission of our business, perhaps. But what is the story we tell ourselves about ourselves? So here's what I want to take you through today, these 4 steps. So let's start with the first point. What are your needs and wants? Only you know what you need. That is the truth. Not your spouse, not your kids, not your friends. Only you know. So you've got to bring that out so you can make it manifest. What are internal drivers? What are those needs? So having self-awareness, spending time with yourself to know, what do I need? And then also decision clarity. You'll know what you do and don't want because you're clear about your wants and your needs. And then you have accountability because you are accountable for the decisions you make. And once that happens, you really start to have agency because you not only own who you are and how you act and how you show up in the world, but how you create the right kind of outcomes. So all of this is about listening to your internal voice and then acting on that first, because leaders start with this point. You have personal drivers internal, which are not related to the external world, like clarity of purpose. Also, we have to emotionally regulate, have a growth mindset. Are you continuously learning? Are you flexibly minded? Are you agile and able to pivot when something changes? Boundary awareness. This is something I still struggle with. And that is the ability to set your own boundaries. And then, of course, reflecting. We're going to be talking about that a lot today. And then, of course, self-accountability builds that ownership, sets integrity, and your personal integrity is your number one currency. And it's the most important currency you'll have when interviewing for a job, changing positions, or leading. If you have integrity, your people will follow you long term. The minute you start to slip your integrity, people will question your authority to lead. That's my experience as a manager for over 40 years. Each of these main points, I have a leader in action, someone I think resonates the points we're talking about. So Indra was the CEO for PepsiCo, and 2 things really struck me. She was a different kind of leader who knew she was and leaned into it. But for me, her takeaway is leaders who invest in understanding themselves first make better decisions, have stronger teams because they themselves are stronger, and are more resilient to change. Now let's go into the next point. So we've grounded ourselves. We're clear about us, our wants and our needs, and our capabilities, our ability to play nice in the world, and our ability to bring value to the world. The fact is, we're all dealing with external factors of our company that has its own ethos and goals, colleagues in a microcosm of the team you're on, the department you're in, and also the kinds of things happening in terms of psychologically in the world right now. You know, the world is a very complicated and sometimes distressing place, how that impacts us. If you want to be a leader, focusing on external is important because we have to live in the real world, and the real world needs understanding business processes, knowing what outcomes are actually necessary, and building support networks because leaders never do it alone. And I know in the world today, we hear from a lot of leaders who pretend they can do it alone, but they can't. And that's the truth of it. So let me show you this slide on what I believe are external enablers to business: psychological safety, the ability to make others feel safe in communicating what they need and want. That is the most fundamental thing of working with any other human being, the idea of being safe in a safe place. That can be both physically and, most importantly, mentally. The opportunity to grow and learn and pivot are based on, hey, how's this working for us? Good? No? Okay, let's talk about how to change it in a way that works for others. Aligned leadership is really about creating this unity and visible wins. It can't just be that the win is only a win for a few. If the company is working as an organism, it's either all or nothing. So let's talk about this leader example. The CEO of Adobe, he's still the CEO of Adobe, has been for years, sharing his vision in storytelling, getting people behind him to follow through, and then using this ecosystem he's created, along with all the people who were involved in that ecosystem, to totally change the business model of what Adobe's all about. Great leadership doesn't work in isolation. It brings people together. As a leader, it's not about you explaining how the world works to the rest of your people. It's about sharing a common vision and bringing them along. telling that story and having that story evolve together so that everyone feels a participant and have skin in the game. Next is embracing your edge, the thing that makes you believe in yourself, because that again is an issue that I see in a lot of people I mentor. They think, I do believe in myself, but when they share their self-talk or when they share their issues, it's clear that they may have a seed of doubt, a whole forest of doubt. I always felt a little different than the cookie cutter of IBM people I worked with, but I loved that. I will say it didn't always resonate with my colleagues, but I felt I was not only bringing more value, but I was enjoying my job more. And, just being a happy human being and showing up to work happy has a huge impact on your long-term success. Being easy to work with is really important because easy doing business is important for companies, but it's also important for people. Feel like you have to control the room. It will be easier for you to be legitimate yourself, but also let other people be authentic themselves. And that's when you start to get breakthrough results. That's when you start to get the kind of advancement you may be looking for. So what are the kind of things that help you do that? What is your creative outlet? If you look around your physical environment and think, I don't feel that comfortable where I'm sitting right now, at work, at home, wherever your office is, wherever your space is that you conduct business, if it's not making you happy or giving you some kind of feeling of comfort, it could be blocking you. Making a difference to your physical environment can also be who you're sitting around, because the toxicity environment will impact you even if you show up to work with the right mindset. So what are the kind of things that help you do that? Creating outlets and physical environment focus. The next two are about reverse mentoring and also cross-industry peer groups. Both of these are about giving back. People always tell me, yeah, I get a lot from our mentoring sessions, Liz, but actually I get just as much. And I really like this one, the ritual of closure. If I'm doing something as simple as cleaning a room in my house or creating a new way of working, like creating this model that you're looking at now, I like to pause and then just also saying, well done. Let's move on to the next thing. So that feeling of closure is important. And I also do that in mentoring. You've got to have closure when you're done mentoring with someone. Well, we need the beginning, middle, and the end of the story. And closure is the end of the story. So you need to celebrate that. And then also this internal narrative. This is the point about story you tell yourself. The leader in action I want to focus on here is Rosalind Brewer. She's been the CEO or the COO of a lot of different companies, including Starbucks and Boots, lots of companies around the world. And she has some amazing skill sets. She has leaned into her particular brand of being an outlier, someone who likes to do things differently. And she focuses on things like training employees, the customer experience, and trying to drive innovation through innovative people. The more diverse views you have, the better your outcome will be. And that's not a feeling, that's a fact. That's a fact proven by countless studies like at Harvard Business Review and Forbes. And so the lesson is, don't wait for permission. If you think you have a great idea, try it. If it doesn't work, there's never a failure if you've learned from it. You should feel comfortable in your own space to recognize the moments that you have a spark of genius and then follow it. And you really need to embrace it as genius, because we all have our personal brand of genius, every single one of us. Now I want to talk about, great, we've got passion, we know our needs and wants, we've learned to believe in ourselves. We show up with intention. We lean into that thing that makes us an outlier, that special little magic we bring to the story, whatever that is. And then we have to decide, is this working for me? Is it serving me? And what exactly is changing? What is it? So for instance, personal satisfaction. Let's take two examples. One could be, I'm getting feedback from management that what I'm choosing to do, what I'm choosing to focus my time on at work, may not always be exactly what they've asked me to do, but it's delivering the results the company needs. And they acknowledge that. That might be one kind. Do you bring the right kind of energy so you are influencing others? Is your story compelling? And do you understand the impact you're making? You'll know if the project you're working on is one where you understand what is the business impact we're looking for. So many managers I worked with over the years don't know that. I'm working on time, budget, and scope. That's great. And that's necessary. But do you know how this thing is going to change how the business works, improve the business outcomes, reduce costs, improve revenue, make customers happier, whatever it is? Do you have a trajectory on your career path to continue advancement? I've done a whole blog and video on making sure you're maximizing your lifetime earnings. And there's actually tools you can use to calculate this, to be aware of your maximum lifetime earnings so you can figure out, are you in the best industry, the best position, the best role within your company to maximize your earnings? So here's an example of some of the KPIs you might prepare for yourself. And then I want to talk about where you are today, how you're going to be different when you leave this conversation, maybe in a little way, maybe in a big way, but let's make that our goal for today. You are here. Rejoice in the fact we are all individuals. We all have different goals and roles and lives. Our journeys are completely different in some cases. Sometimes we are aligned, sometimes not so much. What is right for you? How can you shape a life that includes all the things you need to be happier, smarter, nicer, better, whatever the words are that are important to you? How do you want to show up in the world? In other words, when you enter a room, what's the vibe you're giving off? When you're talking about problem solving, how do you start that conversation? Who's doing the talking? How you show up in the world has a huge impact on going into an interview room and presenting yourself there, going into a meeting room and trying to sell an idea, talking to your team about changing your way of working. All of these are ways you show up in all of these different situations. So my question to you for your future self, which is everything after today, is what's your new story about yourself? If you take the time to intentionally focus on a few things, you can actually make your life happier. And by happier, I mean more purposeful, more satisfied, more outcome rich, both for yourself financially, yourself privately, and also professionally. You can actually start to see a happier you. And I say you can start to see the future you. So I want to give you the 7-day challenge I've created on my website. Analyze something you felt was successful and then think about the leadership skills that contributed to it. Maybe the next day, ask someone at work who you trust and who is a nice person to you to give you some feedback on communication. You're not trying to beat yourself up. You're trying to gain awareness. Practice making decisions in a new framework. I have a lot of different frameworks for project management on my channel. You can check those out. Mentoring someone. Celebrate the challenges you've overcome and try to be that better you every single week. And I'll see you next time on ProjectSkillsMentor.com.